Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is public domain.
That's
and fair
true.
game, technically Dark Universe eligible. Of course, Santa Claus in general is Dark Universe eligible. So
Santa Claus is not copyrighted by any particular film studio.
No, Coca-Cola, I'm sure, would love to try.
Oh, sure.
In 2017, Universal Studios announced the birth of a new shared universe of monster movies, bringing their classic horror icons into the contemporary franchise film landscape. But after the critical and financial failure of its first installment, the project was indefinitely abandoned. Now, in 2023, the powers that be have called upon one pulp horror devotee and one snarky film critic to unearth the concept. I'm Dylan Roth.
And I'm Dalton DeShane.
Are you afraid of the Dark Universe?
Welcome to Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe, the podcast where we attempt to resurrect Universal Studios' failed cinematic universe of monster movies, one pitch at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Dylan Roth.
And I'm your second host, Dalton DeShane, because we're doing a holiday.
And together we have been building out the Dark Universe into an ongoing narrative to rival the MCU.
Should I have done horror? Would that be no? Host works better.
That's better. I mean, listen, it's by degrees.
Look, today's going to be all bits. It's all. Today's episode is a bit fest. Yeah, we are today gathered here for the most impossible task of them all: the Dark Universe Holiday Special. Who would have thought that starting with the 2017 Mummy movie starring Tom Cruise, we would be here doing a streaming holiday special pitch that is fully scripted, by the way.
Yes, this will be a full script, full cast performance of a short subject.
Yes, even though it is full script, this is actually probably the shortest thing we've written for the show since
I checked that it is the shortest script that we looked at the show. It is shorter than The Wolfman. I don't know if by page it's shorter than what you wrote for Frankenstein, because at the time we weren't spacing it out like a screenplay.
Yeah. So definitely our shortest since phase one.
It'll be like the length of one act, basically, on our show.
Yeah. But it is the full length of like what a special would be. This would probably be like a 40-minute
I think it's
special.
Just what it should be.
Exactly. It doesn't, I think it feels complete. We mostly wrote it this week. As we record this, it is Black Friday. And while we had sort of started it, we've had the outline of this for a long time. But we started scripting it a little bit earlier in the month. You and I talked through some things we wanted to do while we went on our con adventure to Philadelphia. And then this week we really dug in and finished the scripting of it. We did our last revisions this morning.
Yeah.
And now we are hopefully ready to read it.
Yeah, you had cracked the story on this thing a long time ago. I think you had the main beats for this story ready when we unveiled the slate for the season.
Yes, I had it during our break. I went to Portland for a wedding over the summer. I think this was in August. And on the plane ride back, I was thinking about what the hell are we going to do for the holiday special? And the whole thing came to me at once. And I'll talk about that more in detail once it's over. And of course, we go now to the fans who have a number of, this is like the most predictions and expectations we've ever gotten.
Now, granted, like the show is still getting bigger. And thank you to everyone who's been circulating the tapes.
Yes.
And we recently got that really great boost from a podcasting legend who we may speak of later in the episode. But also, this is so open-ended. And we just said Dark Universe Holiday Special, and we didn't say anything else.
Yeah, we didn't even say, well, did we say the Dark Legion was going to be involved?
I think that we said the Dark Legion was going to be in it, and that it was going to be full cast. So that basically is all the information that people had. But, we don't say who the central character is or if there is one. And so like we have a lot of predictions or ideas about what this could or should be. And it's kind of funny. I mean, I suppose there's such a variety of them. Of course, some of them are going to hit the mark.
Yeah.
A couple of them were very close.
Yes.
We won't say which.
We're going to go through and we're going to do all of the predictions that you guys had. And then we're going to get right to it. We're going to do the entire holiday special in one go. We're not going to break like we usually do for discussion. We're going to save that for the end, and we'll go through and kind of give the director's commentary after it's over.
Unless, of course, you haven't paid for the premium Peacock, in which case it's just going to get abruptly interrupted,
Yes.
and you're going to get an ad for an antidepressant, and then an ad for a competing antidepressant, and then back to the show.
Yeah, so, shell out for Peacock Premium, everybody. Use code DARKUniverse at checkout for
what if that
first
worked?
month for free. I mean, someday, God willing. We should at least be sponsored by Peacock, right? Peacock should be running ads on our show.
I go back and forth on whether or not it's even a good idea for Universal to know we exist.
That's true. We would like their
We would love to do this for real.
Yes. This holiday special could be yours, Universal, if the price is right. But let's go through some of these predictions. You all have clearly been thinking about your own Dark Universe Christmas bits that you wanted to pitch us. Let's hear what some of them are.
Well, most of the comments were sort of suggesting that this was going to be, as Instagram user Will Larder suggested, a fun and lighthearted episode with a tone similar to The Invisible Man.
Sure.
Pretty safe bet.
It would be funny if this was our darkest thing yet. And on brand for me, at least.
For you, sure.
The fact that Dylan's involved, don't worry. It is lighthearted.
There's somebody out there named Morgan who is not in our Discord or on most social media, but has many friends and allies on various social media who made sure to forward to us that Morgan expects Black Christmas-esque tension and slasher violence while somehow also being heartwarming.
Okay. So that's a darker prediction.
Morgan, we hear you.
Yes.
We're so glad you're listening.
Yes. And we're glad that you have such a strong support system around you and many friends. You seem very popular.
Likelihood is Morgan rocks.
Yeah.
Everybody stepping up for Morgan. You got great friends.
I also want to say, I don't know if you put this in your predictions because it wasn't current, but I do want to say that a little bit ago on the Discord, people completely mapped out a Christmas Carol plot for this with Jack. Did you read that on the Discord when it happened?
I don't think so. I think that it happened so fast and I was like involved in something and I didn't get... I like to try and read everything on the Discord, but sometimes it just gets right past me.
I tried not to look at too many details because I didn't want it to taint... Because this was before we had written the script and I didn't want it to taint it.
Oh, right, yeah.
But people were all in and had the whole, like, the ghosts of Christmas, past, present, and future. Jack was our Scrooge. They really worked out their own holiday special on the Discord, and I was so relieved because I was like, "Thank God we didn't do a Christmas Carol."
Right,
riff.
because then it would be a 1-to-1 comparison with what the fans had done.
Yes, and we try to surprise you.
But that sounds like fun. I should go back and find it.
Yeah.
If you're not in the Discord, if you're not a member of our Patreon at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton, this is the kind of fun you're missing out on. It's a bunch of really fun, welcoming, and creative people who just love to fucking riff.
We also had our fans, I think led by superfan Amaris, pitched an entire season of the Great British Bake Off starring Dark Legion cast members.
That I saw.
That was very good too.
I'll also say, from the bottom of my heart, it is so amazing that people are this invested in the show. It's really knocks me out and makes me feel like I've made good life choices. Thank you all so much for your enthusiasm.
I mean, to make this not entirely a plug, but sincere as well, it was just Thanksgiving yesterday. And someone asked me what I was grateful for, and I'm very grateful for the fans of this podcast. I can't believe where we are just a little over a year here since we started. And yeah, the response and the people being so invested in this is the greatest thing that happened to me in the last year. So thank you, everybody who listens and tells your friends about it. That's huge for us.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
But anyway, back to the predictions.
As you might expect from a holiday special, we have a couple different permutations on member of the Dark Universe finds the true meaning of Christmas.
Sure.
Jazz B on the Discord wanted to see Jack go through an It's a Wonderful Life bit.
Sure.
The Cubic Rube on Instagram said, I'm expecting alternate timelines, whether it's a Wonderful Life or A Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Frankie started a riff that a couple people got into on the Discord. Holiday potluck goes awry, either because of miscommunication about who's in charge of what, or some people being terrible cooks. Jack is wearing an apron that has some sort of silly joke on it and is taking the cooking extremely seriously, to which Balthazar replied, alternatively, Jack's apron says nothing on the front, but says dress the cook on the back, which was too good. I had to include it on the show.
That's good.
Roxanne pointed out that Jack is a food chemist.
That's right.
There would definitely be some molecular gastronomy bullshit in Jack's meal, and I just thought that was a fun detail.
I think it's also funny that, and we're very lucky because I feel like most people predicted that we would be doing a sort of parody on a classic Christmas special or holiday special. And not to spoil too much, but we sort of did two.
Yeah, sort of.
But none of them were guessed. People guessed most holiday specials except the two that we picked, which was really felt really good that we're still going to be able to surprise almost all of you.
Right, but we got a lot of It's a Wonderful Life. We got a lot of A Christmas Carol.
Yep.
We didn't do either of those.
No. No Home Alone prediction.
That's true. Well, I guess we just given up that we didn't do Home Alone either. Sorry, everybody.
What if, Hunter could have been our Kevin McAllister?
Hey, we could, there's a lot more holidays coming. Who knows how long the show's going to run?
That's true.
We can do a lot more.
We have almost promised another holiday special next year.
Unless everyone hates this one. In which case, honestly, knowing us, if they hate this one, then we'll be like, no, now we have to do another one.
Because we have
to
make it
be
good.
Better.
Yeah, it has to be good.
Well, there's a lot of speculation about specific characters. And it's funny, which characters got a lot of specific detail. Jack got named frequently as who should be the central character. And like you said, there was a whole Christmas Carol thing in the Discord. Allie on Blue Sky guesses that Indrid Cold might be in the mix. Alamani on Blue Sky wishes for Indrid to be extremely serious in a Christmas situation, but forced to wear a goofy Christmas hat against his will. Roxanne on the Discord says the ferryman will learn the true meaning of Christmas. Cyrokina on the Discord says that someone's going to get the ferryman a gift and it's going to be confused, but ultimately grateful.
Because the creature is going to be the one that really has no idea what Christmas is. Yeah.
One True Duckman on Instagram expects Victor to learn the true meaning of Christmas. This is a phrase that got used a lot.
The true meaning of
Christmas.
Learn
the true meaning of Christmas. Of course, because that's the default position for a Christmas episode.
I will say that and we'll talk about this more when it's finished, but we wrote the entire special and it was only today that we were like, hey, we should figure out what this is about.
It's been driving me crazy.
What the Christmas message is.
You had so many of the plot and so many of the bits worked out. And I was like, fuck, I like everything in it except for what is this?
We didn't have our Linus speechifying moment of what Christmas really means.
We're recording at 7:13 p.m. We were writing that. Writing sort of different pieces of that at the same time at around 11 a.m. today.
Yeah.
There was a lot of specific Victor predictions.
Wow.
Very specific stuff. Saf on the Discord says, Victor's going to get pajamas. I guess that is a funny image.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where a lot of this comes from. Andy on the Discord says that I'd like to imagine Victor has some really weird, super old school Christmas traditions that no one else has heard of.
Sure.
Which is funny. And then more than one person suggested that Victor would have to be Santa, dress up as Santa at some point.
That's good.
Samantha the Demon Cat, I think, was the first person on the Discord to talk about that. And then there were a lot of course, Santa predictions. Vex Vixen on the Discord says someone who doesn't believe in Santa Claus and the power of Christmas will have to be proven wrong when Santa is real and some sort of elder being.
Okay.
Raise the question, are we going to introduce Santa Claus into our Universal Monsters canon?
I don't know.
Which Mop on the Discord says, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is public domain and fair game. Technically Dark Universe eligible. Of course, Santa Claus in general is Dark Universe eligible. So
Santa Claus is not copyrighted by any particular film studio.
No, Coca-Cola, I'm sure, would love to try.
Oh, sure.
On the Discord, executive producer Dick Wolf says Santa isn't a monster, but he is definitely up to some shit. I think the Dark Legion wonders if they can take him before immediately shutting that down because it's too weird, even for them, and they have no idea what the hell will happen if they murder Santa.
What I love about all these is our fans have such good ideas. All of these are really good bits. And so I love this segment. I hope the listeners love it as well when we talk about, even if your comment isn't being featured here, I hope you like hearing about them because a lot of these are really good ideas. And I love that they almost never overlap with ours.
Right.
One of these days, I live in fear of this segment that one of these days someone is just going to completely nail, or multiple people will completely nail the plot of one of our movies. And one of us, because we always ask for these after we've written them.
Right.
One of us is going to be like, fuck, I've already written this whole thing and everyone's, already nailed it.
Also, if you guess it, we want you to have the eureka moment of, oh, they did do the thing that I suggested.
And if you are right, we will not read your comment on the show before the episode.
Probably
because we
not.
want everybody else to be surprised too. But we'll give you a shout out after the pitch is read, probably.
Okay, so Santa Claus got a lot of mentions here. So
Sure.
Naturally, we also got a lot of people talking about the Krampus, the anti-Santa of Germanic origin, which I was unaware of until high school when the Krampus showed up in the Venture Brothers holiday special. That was my first introduction to the Krampus.
I think I learned about him in German class, but we learned about Schwarze Peter, who's Black Peter, who's a very similar to Krampus kind of Germanic anti-Santa, the anti-Santa.
Around the same time, we were both in high school at this point. But I feel like Krampus wasn't in the popular fucking the zeitgeist in the States until the mid 2000s.
Yeah, now there's a whole Adam Scott horror movie about him.
And a number of lower budget ones, I think.
Yes.
Captain Malcolm on the Instagram thinks the Krampus will make an appearance, but it'll be like a classic comic book team up where first they fight, but by the end, Krampus becomes a reserve member of the team.
Okay.
Like sort of like a Marvel team up.
I like that.
More Krampus. People who think that we won't have Krampus because it's too mainstream. Luke on Blue Sky says that we usually do more esoteric weird stuff, so that we're more likely to use something like the Yule Lads or a lesser known holiday spirit.
I will say our franchise is built on like Dracula and Frankenstein.
That's true.
We're kind of built on the mainstream ones.
The Grinch came up because the Grinch is also Dark Universe eligible.
That is true.
Balthazar on Discord says the primary character is not Santa Claus, but actually the Grinch, and the Dark Legion must assemble to save Christmas while dealing with their recently discovered fame following the events of the Mummy's Hand. Here I'm actually going to... this seems like a good time to talk about it, timeline-wise.
Sure.
This is chronologically... still like a good like year and a half or so before Heaven's Gate.
Yes.
That's something I want to clarify, because part of the reason why I did that 2-year time jump is that the production cycle on books is actually really long.
It is.
If you are having a book published by a major publisher, it's like as long as it takes to make a fucking movie.
Yeah, that's true. A friend of the show, Ella Dawson, who you will hear as Jenny Halsey, her book comes out next summer, and it's been in the works for a very, very long time.
Yeah, so 2 years for people to have written, published, and absorbed that book was honestly me being like a little bit optimistic.
It would have probably, but those kinds of like celebrity memoir things tend to get rushed through production while they're still timely.
Yeah.
So that probably would have come out pretty quickly. But yeah, so this takes place the Christmas immediately after the Mummy's Hand. So everyone, while the world knows about the Manaus incident, they don't know the Dark Legion members.
Right. They're not celebrities yet.
Yeah, because Cassie's book hasn't come out.
Anyway, that brings us up to date with all of the fan expectations and predictions.
Well, but there was one other question that we need to address before we go into the script itself, because this is, I think, very important to our world building here. Coltreg on the Discord asked, what member of the Dark Legion would get roped into appearing in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade? Now, this was important because the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is televised by NBC.
Right. It's one of their
streams
big attractions
on Peacock. And so they use it as an opportunity to promote, especially this year, upcoming Peacock, Universal, NBC properties and shows.
Right. So there's no question that there would be a Dark Universe float in the parade.
Absolutely there would be, especially as big as it is by phase 3.
Yeah.
This might not even be the first year there's been one.
Maybe not, but it's the first time they have something very specific to promote, which
Exactly.
is right now on Peacock, or maybe it's a week from now, you can stream the Dark Universe Holiday Special. Now, the Discord, people on Discord did go and throw out all of their really good bits about how this would work.
But their pitches were for which Dark Universe characters sort of in the world of the Dark Universe. But I think we're talking about what actors in our universe would appear on the float.
Well, I think it's probably a given that Tom Cruise is not going to do the Thanksgiving Day parade.
I think, though, for the sake of the argument, we have Tom Cruise in a red scarf and a sweater on the float with his little mittens waving. I think that's a great... Him and Annabelle Wallis and Darcy Carden, I think, are our scarf-wearing... I know he probably wouldn't do it, but he's the face of the franchise. Maybe he's playing ball with us.
I think Annabelle Wallis and Darcy Carden are locks. I think they definitely show up.
And they're fan favorites.
Of course. And I do think that you have to have like a wireframe or transparent invisible man wearing all of like the cozy winter clothes and waving and moving around and appearing to be invisible. You have to do that bit.
Yeah.
We also were talking about what the balloon above them would be. And we landed on like sort of a Funko Pop style creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes, because this year they did have the Funko Pop Baby Yoda, which was very depressing to see. And while we talked about like it would probably be the ferryman, if we're speaking realistically because of capital, it would be a Funko Pop ferryman.
Yeah, you have to be able to buy the exact thing of the balloon.
Exactly. And plus, look, we're no Funko Pop. If you're a Funko Pop person out there, God bless. We just went to that horror convention in Philadelphia where we had 2 big Funko Pop stands next to us. The people were very nice. I get that is a big collector's thing. It's not something we're into, but a Funko Pop ferryman would be kind of cute.
Of course.
There probably is one.
I'm sure there's one of the classic creature from Black Lagoon.
Classic creature.
And honestly, that's probably, when it comes to collecting stuff, I think so long as you set like fucking guidelines for yourself.
Yeah.
So you don't go crazy. If you're like, oh, I want to have all the Funkos that are about classic Universal monsters, and that's it.
I mean, I can't judge because I have every NECA figure of the Universal Monsters. And I have made a point of owning every single NECA Universal Monster figure. So,
you have a rotating Lego set collection on your shelf.
I've got tons of Legos. So I'm a collector as well. It's just that Funko Pops haven't been my thing, but maybe it would be a Lego Ferryman.
Maybe.
That would be kind of cool if we had a Lego tie-in at this point. But I think it's time.
Yeah, enough preamble. We're 25 minutes in. Let's get to the fucking show.
So we're going to do this straight through. Hopefully, if you're hearing this, we have our full cast assembled to do all of their parts, submitted for the approval of the Universal Studios and Peacock Board of Directors. This is Dalton Deshane and Dylan Roth's Dark Universe Holiday Special. The camera follows a raven as it flies through the streets of London at Christmas time. There's snow on the ground and the rooftops, and the streets are packed with people doing their last-minute shopping. The raven swoops and soars and finally lands on the windowsill of a pre-war hotel. The camera pushes into the hotel room to a pile of unwrapped gifts stacked on the bed.
Come on, Nick. We're already late.
Nick Morton, played in the film by Tom Cruise, and in this reading by me, Dalton Deshane, steps into the room, coat over one arm, clearly disheveled and a little stressed. Just 1 second, Jack. I just have to pack the presents. Nick stands over the pile of gifts. There's a new brown leather hip holster for Jenny, a copy of the book American Prometheus for Victor, a pair of wireless jogging earbuds for Gwen, and a vinyl copy of the Hadestown soundtrack for Jack. Not pictured, Nick gifted Hunter Alan Wake 2, and Carol tickets to see River Butcher do stand-up. Nick got Evelyn a gift card to a used bookstore in London because he doesn't know her very well yet and doesn't want to fuck it up. Nick closes his eyes and spreads his arms, and bandages shoot out from his wrists like Spider-Man's webs. When we look back at the gifts, they're all perfectly wrapped in yellowed, rotting bandages. Nick smiles. There, all wrapped. Jack emerges from the bathroom, completely covered head to toe in enormous brown snow boots, black snow pants, a green fur-lined coat, and a full head ski mask with only eye holes. Over the holes of the ski mask, he wears those glasses that have eyes printed on the lenses.
Nick, you know I hate being late. I'm a very punctual person.
Nick sweeps the presents into an enormous suitcase. I'm sorry.
You know, I'm starting to regret leaving Barbados to be here. Jenny and Carol have already landed in Switzerland.
Well, I didn't ask you to do that.
I know, but I didn't want you to be alone for Hanukkah.
Jack, I'm not Jewish.
But I am.
Nick finishes putting on his coat and grabs his suitcase. All right, let's go. They shut off the lights and head out into the hallway.
We should be fine, as long as there's no traffic on the way to the airport.
Oh, I don't think that should be a problem. It's not like it's Christmas Eve or anything. We're back outside in London, and the camera rises to show an aerial view of the city. Cars are bumper to bumper, their honks mixing with the holiday music coming from the stores. Title card, The Dark Universe Holiday Special.
Cut to the busiest day at Heathrow Airport you've ever seen in your life. Nick and Jack are stuck at the back of an enormous security line, Nick bouncing up and down on his heels and Jack checking his watch.
Ugh, screw this. Cover me.
Jack starts disrobing in the middle of the line.
Hey, wait!
Nick looks around and unsuccessfully tries to shield Jack from view.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna sneak past security. I can't wait here any longer.
Yeah, well, unless you're gonna shove me up your ass, I still have to wait.
Well, then meet me at the Starbucks. I'll be the floating pastry.
Cut to 20 minutes later. Nick and Jack are sprinting through the terminal while a music cue that's not quite the same one from Home Alone plays. Nick is skillfully dodging everyone in his path, while next to him, people are screaming and getting bowled over by the invisible force plowing their way through them. They approach the gate just as the attendant is closing the doors.
I can make it!
No, Jack!
The attendant slams the gate closed and then jumps at the scream of pain that erupts from nowhere in front of her. Nick slowly steps toward the window to watch their plane take off into the sky without them. Cut to a snowy mountain road in the Swiss Alps. All is quiet, until a rusted old van comes clattering into view. Inside, Cassie drives, with Carol and Jenny sitting in the back seats.
Cassie Falk is played in the film by Meredith Eaton, and in this reading by Joe Kroger. Jenny Halsey is played in the film by Annabelle Wallace, and in this reading by Ella Dawson. And Carol Lemley is played in the film by Darcy Carden, and in this reading by Steph Sallow.
This must have been a beautiful place to grow up.
Yes and no. We were on tour a lot, and during the busy winter season, we used to put on local shows for the tourists. Christmas was always a work day.
Well, we're happy to be here to make some new, more pleasant holiday memories with you.
Carol's cell phone rings.
Oh, it's Jack.
Shouldn't they be in the air by now?
Back at the airport, Jack is a hovering cell phone, attracting stares from everyone who passes by.
Hey, Carol. So, we kind of missed our flight.
What? Oh my God, did they rebook you?
Well, we tried that. Turns out it's hard to do on Christmas Eve. Nick's trying to get us a cab to the train station right now.
The train station? How long is that going to take?
Not sure yet. I'll keep you all updated. Give our love to the Legion.
Yeah, okay.
The ladies in the van exchange glances.
A little while later, Cassie's van passes under a grand archway that reads Frankenstein Manor Ski Resort. Unlike how we saw it in The Bride and Frankenstein, it's now bustling with guests of all ages enjoying their holiday on the slopes.
Wow, this place is jumping.
Yep. Apparently, the world finding out that hell is real has been really good for business. I think it's the altitude.
The van pulls up to the front entrance of Cassie's family lodge, whose massive doors are pulled open by a mousy man with greasy hair, played in the film by David Desmalchin, and in this reading by Dylan Roth. Inside stands the rotting giant Victor Frankenstein, played in the film by Javier Bardem, and in this reading by me, wearing a huge red and white knit sweater. Beside him is the wolf woman, Gwen Conliffe, played in the film by Amber Midthunder, and in this reading by Rachel Millman, who is rocking cool distressed jeans and a t-shirt as usual.
Welcome back, mistresses. Let me take the guests' bags.
Everyone, this is our new head operator for the resort, Igor Waldman.
I knew his great-great-grandfather.
There might be a few extra greats in there.
Carol does a double take at Victor's big Christmas sweater.
Wow, that's new. Where'd you even find a sweater that big?
I made it.
Get out.
Gwen thought that taking up knitting might help me learn to coordinate my mismatched extremities.
Victor laces his fingers in front of him, the set from his own remaining hand and the other that used to be Imhotep's. Gwen approaches and gives Victor a little nudge with her elbows.
I hope you like it, because he made one for, everyone.
That was going to be a surprise.
Victor looks down at his hands and blushes. And by blushes, I mean that a bit of extra goop gets pumped up to his face and leaks out of the seams in his cheeks. Carol sees this, throws on a big fake smile, then turns away and gags a little. The new arrivals make their way inside, where Evelyn and Hunter are relaxing by a warm fireplace. Evelyn O'Connell is played in the film by Rachel Weisz and in this reading by Gita Jackson, while Hunter Marin is played in the film by, we haven't cast them yet, and in this reading by Kendra Wells. Evelyn gets up to greet Jenny with a hug.
Lovely to see you again, Jenny. Pleasant flight.
I've had worse.
They share a laugh.
Because they died in a plane crash. Get it?
Yeah. Hunter is lying across an entire couch with their Steam Deck in a gaming trance. Carol approaches the couch and turns as if she's about to sit on Hunter's feet. Hunter retracts their legs just enough for Carol to sit, but otherwise does not look away from their screen.
Hey, kid.
Jenny walks over and looks like she's about to engage with Hunter, but Carol shakes her head.
They're gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Well, I'm glad you got someone to cover the lagoon for you this week.
Who on earth is covering for them?
We lucked out. The lagoon's in Cali, so their friend Phil is handling it.
Hunter finally reaches a break point in their game and sets the Steam Deck down.
His family are Quakers, so it's not like he had plans.
The assembled Legionnaires, Victor, Cassie, Gwen, Jenny, Carol, Evelyn, and Hunter, catch up for a bit until Gwen realizes,
Wait, but Jack was supposed to be the chef tonight.
It's fine. I can cook us up something.
What? No way. We agreed ahead of time. The boys are in charge of the cooking.
everyone looks around at this room of mostly women. All eyes land on Victor, whose enormous frame seems to shrink in his chair.
Don't worry, Vic. Looks like it's you and me.
Hunter grabs Vic's hand and pulls him out of his seat. They lead him into the kitchen as they pull out their phone.
Let's see what they've got in the kitchen.
Don't forget to wear gloves, Vic.
And a hairnet, please.
Women look at each other and laugh to themselves.
Meanwhile, Jack Griffin, dressed once again in his head-to-toe winter gear, wakes up with a start. It's okay, bud. You're back. Nick and Jack are sitting in a snowy field a few dozen yards from a flaming train derailment. Jack frantically pats his body to make sure he's still intact.
Wouldn't be Christmas Eve without a brief detour to hell, I guess. Did you kill it?
Nick raises a limp, lifeless creature up by the scruff of its neck. It's about 2 feet long, its face constructed entirely out of human front teeth, overlapping like shingles. In its gaping mouth, we can see its gums lined with eyeballs, some of them popped and leaking fluid. It has leathery wings and a striped, furry tail with a 6-inch stinger at the end. And by the way, I would like if this was a creation of the Henson Creature Shop.
Oh, that would be great.
Yes.
What the hell is it?
Nick just shrugs and looks at it with a disgusted face. Beats me. He tosses it into the snow. I'll be right back. There's like 50 more people back there I need to bring back to life. He runs off while Jack rolls his head to the side, exasperated.
We're gonna be so late.
Back at the chateau, Jenny and Carol are cuddled on the sofa by a roaring fire, watching The Muppet Christmas Carol on TV. Carol has a big grin on her face, while Jenny nods off on her chest. There's a sudden whoosh of fire from the kitchen, and Victor roars, waking Jenny up with a start.
Oh my God, were you asleep?
What? No, just very relaxed.
Carol narrows her eyes.
Do you not like the Muppets? Because that's the sort of thing you should tell someone before you marry them.
The Muppets are fine. I'm just exhausted from the flight.
Too exhausted for the Muppets?
Gwen pipes up, not looking up from her phone.
Careful, Jenny. You're upsetting your child bride.
Child? I don't believe this. Where is all this Muppets hostility coming from? Who are you people?
Evelyn raises her eyebrows and looks up from her book, enjoying the fireworks.
I'm just saying, you're 40 years old and they do make movies for adults.
And I'm happy to watch those the other 11 months of the year. It's Christmas Eve, the one time of the year where kids are allowed to believe in jolly flying fat guys and middle-aged women are allowed to believe in the goddamn fucking Muppets.
Gwen raises her hands sarcastically as if to say, fine, I surrender. Carol scrunches up her face, then notices the fire dying down.
I'm going out for more firewood.
I'll come with you.
I thought you were exhausted.
She kisses her wife and heads for the front door. Jenny chases after her.
No, seriously, let me come with you.
Jenny, I'll just be a sec. It's fine.
Jenny shoves a gun into Carol's hands.
Then take this.
What the hell? For firewood?
It's got 6 quicksilver rounds, just in case.
In case of what?
I don't know. I just get worried. I don't want anything to happen to you. Again.
Carol softens, and she kisses her wife.
I'll take the gun if you go sit your ass down and watch Michael Caine realize the folly of his cantankerous ways.
They smile, and Carol sets out into the night. She looks at the gun and shakes her head, then shoves it in her pocket. She's gathering logs from the stack of firewood when she hears the scream. She drops the wood and runs away from the lodge.
Hello? Who's there? Yell again if you need help.
Another scream, piercing and high. A child's scream near the resort's general store. Carol runs toward it, and a young girl, no older than 8, comes sprinting around the corner and into Carol's arms.
Hey now, you're okay? What's wrong, honey?
The girl doesn't say anything, just turns and points behind her. From behind the general store, an enormous beast emerges and stands under the yellow cone of its front light. It stands 8 feet tall on wide, cloven hooves. It has a twisted, vampiric face with long black teeth and a ring of dark red hair around its head like a lion's mane. From the top of its head curl 4 long, gnarled horns. At its side, it carries a large black sack, weighed down with something large and heavy, something that seems to be thrashing for escape. It stands in the light for a moment, panting out clouds into the cold air. Then it roars and lowers to all 4s, leaving the sack behind to charge at Carol and the child. Carol pushes the child behind her and fumbles for the gun in her parka pocket. At the last second, she gets it out and fires all 6 rounds into the beast's chest. It falls to the ground, dead. Carol stands shocked for a moment, then a big grin erupts on her face.
Yes, I got one!
She turns to the little girl.
Going back to your cabin now, you're safe.
The girl runs off, and Carol goes to examine the lumpy black sack. But when she opens it, it's somehow empty. It collapses into the snow just as Jenny and Evelyn come running.
Carol, oh my God, what happened?
I got one! I bagged a monster, all by myself too. You would have been so proud.
Jenny gives a weak, worried smile.
So proud.
The 3 of them stare down at the beast.
What is it?
I'm not sure. Some kind of demon, perhaps.
We can't leave it here. Come on, everyone grab a limb.
A little while later, the 3 of them come back into the lodge from the cold, shaking off the snow.
Well, everything okay?
Yes, just some sort of monster anomaly. Seem to have been alone, though.
Is it taken care of?
I killed it.
Gwen is impressed.
Not bad for a preschooler.
From off-screen, Hunter yells,
Dinner's ready!
Cut to the ladies gathered around a long dining room table. Enter Victor and Hunter carrying platters full of steaming dishes.
Okay, for our first and only course, I present sweet potato tamales.
Hunter and Victor place one of these unconventional dishes in front of each of the other guests. Carol is absent-mindedly scratching at her forehead with a fork. Jenny notices this and gives her a light smack on the arm. Carol lowers the fork, embarrassed.
Wow, I've never had one of these.
Me neither, but it's what I knew how to make with what we had lying around.
Maybe we should have let Carol cook.
Hey, I think I did pretty good for someone who left home at 12 and learned most of their cooking from YouTube.
What do you suppose Nick and Jack are doing about their dinner?
Cut to Nick and Jack. They're sitting on the hood of a rental car, which has been somehow burnt to a crisp. A couple small fires still peek up from the back seat. They're in the parking lot of a Nando's, with a bag of chicken sitting on the hood between them. They both sit in silence for a long while, chewing and staring into space. While they eat, a small foot-tall devil, its entire body made out of fire, hops out of the car, giggling. Without turning around, Nick lets a bandage loose and wraps it around the devil all at once, smothering the fire. It falls to the ground as a lifeless, demon-shaped piece of coal. More chewing and silence. Then Nick finally says, "It's good chicken."
What I tell ya?
We cut back to dinner at the chateau. Everyone is trepidatiously eating their sweet potato tamales.
These are lovely, Hunter. Thank you.
Hey, it wasn't just me. Vic here was an excellent sous chef.
And I made tapioca pudding for dessert.
As Victor says this, a drop of yellowy pus dribbles from a seam at the corner of his mouth. Everyone tries to hide their disgust, and Jenny puts down her tamale and swallows her bile. The one person not put off is Carol, who is tearing into tamales with both hands, gnashing at them and growling softly. Jenny gives her a sharp look.
Carol, what on earth?
Carol just keeps eating, squeezing the tamales tight in her fists.
Needs more meat.
Well, if it's all right, I'd just like to take a moment and express some gratitude for all of you.
Carol's chewing gets louder.
As you all know, I've been alive for a very long time, and I've spent most of it alone.
Carol uses one hand to scratch her scalp hard with her fork.
After my family was gone, it was hard for me to make new connections with anyone. Christmas has become haunted by their ghosts. A time of mourning. After so many cold winters, I'm so thankful to have found a new family to keep me warm.
She raises a glass.
To many more Christmases together. As a legion. As a family.
Everyone raises their glasses, except Carol. She's finished the last of the tamales and is holding her plate vertical to her face, licking up the crumbs. Jenny's had enough.
Carol!
Carol lowers the plate and screams.
What?
Her teeth have turned into long black fangs. Nubs of horns are starting to emerge from the top of her head.
Carol? Baby, what's happening?
Carol stands from the table, knocking her chair away. She's rapidly transforming, red hair springing out around her face, fangs sharpening, eyes turning red and black. Everyone backs away from the table as Carol roars and flips it over. Victor shoves Cassie behind him, but she peeks out her head to look at the creature with terrified eyes and mutters,
Krampus.
Carol seems to lock onto Cassie's fear and turns her attention towards her. Carol lunges, but is held back by Victor's grip.
I will not hurt you, Carol.
Cassie, terrified, turns and runs up the stairs. Carol's still growing, now standing even taller than Victor. She picks Victor up by the shoulders and slams him down into the overturned table, then lowers into all fours and chases Cassie up the stairs. The ladies and Hunter give chase. Hunter is the fastest and bravely grabs onto Carol's ankle, but Carol kicks them back down the stairs. They collide with Evelyn and Gwen, and all three go tumbling back down to the bottom, past Jenny.
Upstairs, Cassie has locked herself in the bathroom. She cowers against the wall as Carol beats against the door, cracking the thick wood. Then, from outside the door, we hear Jenny yell,
Carol!
Outside the bathroom, Carol turns to see Jenny and Victor standing in the hall. Jenny holds out her hand like she's trying to calm her wife.
Baby, this isn't you. I need you to turn back into yourself now, okay?
Carol simply roars, but slightly softer than before.
Look around you. Look at what you're doing. You have scared everyone half to death.
Carol growls and pants. Jenny sighs, unable to believe what she's about to do.
There's magic in the air this evening, magic in the air. The world is at its best, you know, when people love and care. There's something, I really hope this works. After all, there's only one more sleep till Christmas.
Carol's beastly eyes soften and slowly turn back to brown. She begins to shrink and starts to resemble her human self a bit more, but she doesn't transform all the way back. She still stands on cloven hooves, she still has her horns and her mane of red hair, and her teeth are longer and sharper than usual. She looks down at herself in horror.
Jenny, what's happening to me?
The wives embrace as Cassie, Gwen, and Evelyn come up to the landing. Gwen has a shocked smile on her face, clearly excited by the sudden action.
Oh, man. I can't believe Nick and Jack are missing this.
Cut to Nick and Jack, who are standing, somehow, on the shores of the island in the middle of the Black Lagoon.
Now, how the hell did we end up here?
From out of the cave, the creature emerges. In his hands, he carries a small box made out of some reflective and luminescent material, tied with a bow of seaweed. He presents it to Nick, who unties the seaweed and opens the box. Inside is a knotted clump of more seaweed. Thanks, man. We got you something too, didn't we, Jack?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
Jack pats his pockets and pulls out a half-eaten bag of Swedish fish they picked up at a rest stop. He presents it to the creature, and the creature pulls out a single fish with his claws and examines it before opening his sharp mouth and swallowing it whole. He lets out a joyful roar and pulls them both in for a tight hug. Happy holidays, ferryman.
Back at the lodge, the entire crew is sitting around a fire looking at Cassie.
His name is Krampus. He's a part of our folklore in this region, a sort of dark analog to Santa Claus who comes out on Christmas Eve and scares the naughty children.
Wait, you're saying that Krampus is actually real?
Cassie nods.
I used to see him every Christmas.
Victor is shocked.
Cassie, you were a naughty child?
You know I didn't get along with my family. I rebelled. I didn't do what I was told. I mocked the family business. And so every Christmas Eve, Krampus would appear with his black sack and chase me down, threatening to take me away. He never actually takes anyone as a thing. He just exists to frighten them into being good.
Hunter pipes up.
Wait, if Krampus exists, does that also mean that Santa...
They notice that everyone is looking at them, and then they suddenly get too embarrassed to finish the question.
Nothing. Never mind.
Okay, but none of this explains why I'm turning into the big man on Krampus.
It sounds like Krampus is a force of folklore, less a demon than a product of this culture's collective consciousness. Creatures like this cannot simply be killed, not while the populace still believes in them.
Jenny, stop talking like Indrid.
Carol, when you killed Krampus, I believe the power of his responsibility transferred to you.
What does that mean?
Carol, you're the new Krampus.
The room is silent. Carol is stunned. Finally, she yells,
What?
Cut back to Nick and Jack. They're now standing by a rural road in the dark. We're close on Nick, who is standing in a slight squat, his arms out at his side, muscles tense and face bunched up in concentration. He stands like this for a while, clearly exerting some sort of effort, when suddenly Jack's cell phone rings. He answers, and we cut between him and Gwen back at the lodge.
Jack, where the hell are you guys?
Oh, hey, Gwen. I'm not really sure. Somewhere near Strasbourg, I think? We're currently on foot, and Nick's trying to see if he can turn his body into one big raven instead of a bunch of small ones and carry me the rest of the way.
Cut back to Nick, starting to grunt with exertion.
Doesn't seem to be working, though.
Okay, well, we need you here ASAP. Carol killed a Krampus, and until we bring it back to life, she's stuck being Krampus for all of eternity, or until somebody kills her and takes her place.
Oh, God! Wait, what the hell's a Krampus?
Jack, we don't have time for this. We already did the exposition dump. We need you back here to revive a dead monster.
We're doing our best. At this rate, though, I don't think we'll be there till morning. Can Carol survive the night as a Krampus?
Gwen shoots a look at Carol, who is sitting on the couch, breathing hard, her eyes rapidly flickering between their human version and the red and black Krampus version.
Hopefully.
Gwen hangs up.
Looks like we're on our own for now.
Carol shivers and snarls, becoming more Krampusy by the second.
I'm getting pretty antsy here. I got this weird tug in my brain, like I forgot something really important.
Hold on for just a bit longer, love. Can you do that?
The transformation grows more rapid, her face flickering between Carol and the vampiric Krampus. She snarls, sniffing at the air, and before anyone can stop her, she jumps from her seat and starts galloping towards, and then straight through, the front door, letting the cold air in.
Carol, stop!
Oh, good. Now I'm going to spend Christmas morning on the phone with State Farm.
The whole gang follows Carol out and finds her sniffing around the corpse of the previous Krampus. Carol picks up the black burlap sack and pulls a rolled-up parchment scroll off of its belt. The paper seems to calm Carol somewhat, and her eyes change back to her own.
What is it?
I think I gotta go to work. I think I gotta go right now and scare all the kids on this list, or else I'm gonna go cuckoo crazy.
Cassie takes the scroll from Carol.
There are dozens of names left on this list, and the addresses are spread out all over town. There's no way you're getting to all of them before sunrise.
What does that mean? I'm gonna go rabbit or something?
I don't know, but I definitely don't want to find out.
Hand me that list.
Cassie passes it to Gwen, who gives it a cursory look and then tears it clean in half.
Gwen, what the fuck?
Gwen tears each of the pieces of parchment in half again and starts distributing the pieces to the rest of the gang.
Carol can't find and scare all of these kids on her own before daybreak, which means we're going to have to split up the work.
I would prefer not to frighten the children.
But you're so good at it.
Victor bows his head and plays with his hands nervously.
Respectfully, we don't even know for certain whether scaring the children on Carol's behalf will be enough to satisfy the curse. This may be an impossible task.
Everyone looks at Gwen, who looks like she's struggling to say something.
Listen, I know I've been kind of a killjoy tonight, especially to you, Carol. The truth is that Christmas has never really been a special time for me. Growing up on the res, Christmas was just a reminder of everything we didn't have. No money, no gifts, no feast, no dad. I never believed in Santa Claus because Santa Claus never came. And I never believed in magic either until I became a werewolf. Then it became just another part of everyday life. To tell you the truth, I didn't want to come here this year. The idea of celebrating anything without Larry, the thought of it was unbearable. But now I'm here, and I'm looking around at all of us gathered together, not because the sky is falling or the world is ending or whatever, but because we choose to be. Because we're the ones who are left. And now I'm thinking maybe magic is kind of like family. It's always there, doesn't always feel special, and sometimes it makes you miserable. But once a year around the holidays, you take a day or two to notice it and you celebrate it. We're a family and we're magic. And I don't believe anything is impossible so long as we're all working together.
The gang all looks at each other, tears in their eyes, but passing around the same warm smile. Carol is moved by the support of her friends. She extends her horrifying claw out in front of her.
If Larry were here, I think he'd say, "Monsters on 3?"
Gwen puts her hand on top of Carol's, and the rest of the team follows suit.
1, 2, 3.
Monsters!
Cut to a house overlooking the woods where a young boy is awakened by a rustling outside his window. He climbs out of bed and down the stairs, stepping out onto his back porch. The howl of a wolf pierces the air, and the boy freezes in fear. The rustling intensifies, the trees and the woods shuddering from some unseen force. Suddenly, all manner of wildlife, squirrels, mice, foxes, rabbits, and finally reindeer, flee from the woods into the boy's backyard. The boy cowers as the animals split and thunder around the porch, and when he looks up, Gwen crouches in the tree line, baring her teeth and roaring. The boy cries and runs back inside. Gwen laughs to herself.
Cue the montage music, which is a barely recognizable metal cover of the Beach Boys' Little Saint Nick, preferably in German. Maybe by Rammstein?
If we can get him.
Yeah. Out on a suburban street, a kid pedals desperately on his bike, pursued by the sprinting, drooling Krampus Carol.
In another house, an adolescent walks past the front door and notices it's unlocked. He turns the bolt lock and walks away, then stops when he hears it click open again. He opens the door and pokes his head out, but there's no one there. He closes it again, and once again, the lock spontaneously opens. The kid panics, opens the door one last time, ready to yell at the prankster. Instead, he finds a huge pile of yellow-white pus sitting in front of the door, flecked with globs of red blood. More of the gunk drips from the front porch light, oozing down into the pile. On top of the pus sits a scrap of paper with the child's name written on it. The kid's eyes widen, and he slams the door shut. Cut to outside the house, where Jenny Halsey is hiding in the bushes, pointing her universal lockpick at the front door. She smiles, then sticks a finger in the pile on the front porch. Victor's tapioca pudding. She tastes it and gives it a surprised nod of approval.
A pair of naughty children sneak down the stairs of a well-to-do home to take an early peek at their Christmas presents. One of them snickers to herself as she pilfers a cookie from the tray meant for Santa. Meanwhile, her younger sister pulls down her stocking from the mantel over the fireplace. The older sister takes a sip from Santa's glass of milk, then suddenly gags and spits. But what comes out of her mouth isn't milk. It's a shiny, viscous black goo, which lands on the counter with a heavy splat. Tiny black worms wriggle in the pile, and the girl screams, revealing that her teeth are stained black, with more of the worms caught in between them. Meanwhile, the younger sister turns her stocking upside down to shake out the contents. Instead of treats, out drops a large, rotting human foot, severed halfway up the calf. The girls run away, screaming bloody murder. Outside, peeking through a nearby window, Hunter is laughing hysterically, while Victor sits in the snow examining his leg, which ends at mid-calf.
A trio of school kids walk down a rural road, having snuck out of their respective houses seeking mischief. A van pulls up next to them, Cassie's van. She waves the kids over, gesturing at the circus graphics painted on the side. The kids cautiously approach. The side door slowly slides open, and in the darkness, we see Krampus's black sack. Whatever's inside is thrashing for release, something child-sized. The kids stare in horror, and then suddenly the streetlight behind them explodes with a crack. They turn around to see a figure standing in the darkness, a shadow with what appears to be a long, thin tail. The tail suddenly whips through the air, crackling again, dangerously close to the children. They run away screaming, and Evelyn emerges from the shadows, a bullwhip in her hand. She smiles at Cassie. Once the kids are gone, the sack collapses again, empty, its magic spent.
As the montage music fades, Cassie, Victor, Gwen, Evelyn, and Hunter meet back up at the front archway for Frankenstein Manor Ski Resort. The sun is just starting to peek up over the horizon. From a distance, Jenny and Carol approach, and as the sunlight hits Carol's skin, she slowly transforms from the enormous Krampus beast back into her human self. Her and Jenny hold hands as they rejoin the group.
Carol, you're back!
Carol smiles.
It's Christmas morning.
Gwen tilts her ear to the sky.
Do y'all hear that?
Everyone listens intently, and after a moment, they do. A distant yelping. They look around but can't find the source.
Hey, is it just me, or are those birds flying in kind of a weird pattern?
They look up, and sure enough, a flock of ravens are approaching them in a close clump, dipping and rising like they're carrying something heavy, and the yelping is getting louder.
Jack?
The ravens swing low to the ground, and suddenly an impact crater erupts with a thump in the snow, and Jack yells out. The ravens coalesce into the shape of Nick Morton, who helps Jack to his feet.
Oh my god, you made it!
Sorry for the tardiness, everyone. We have had the night from hell.
Literally, in my case.
Nick claps his hands. So, where's the fire? The gang lead Nick and Jack to the yard behind the lodge. Instead of finding the felled body of the Krampus beast, they find a naked man, played by David Krumholtz, lying dead in the snow. I thought you said there were monsters involved.
Well, there were, but he must have turned back when Carol did, at first light.
Look, if you all just killed a guy, you can tell me.
No, he was a Krampus, I swear. And I'd rather not go through this next year, so please, just do your mummy thing.
Nick cracks his knuckles and does his mummy thing. The dead man is wrapped in bandages, which glow from the inside out, and then he's sitting up and gasping for air. The man looks around and sees Carol and jumps to his feet in a defense position.
Whoa, hey.
It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry for the shock. May we ask who you are?
I'm a guy just trying to do my job, is who I am, until Lady Rambo shot me dead.
Look, no offense, but I can't be the first person to have tried to kill you on the job.
The man looks down and realizes he's human and nude.
Wait, I'm a guy again. Does that mean... Is it Christmas? Who scared the naughty kids? And can somebody get me some clothes?
Victor removes his enormous sweater and offers it to the man. The man flinches from him at first, and then takes the sweater, which is large enough to cover his junk.
Thanks.
Merry Christmas.
Look, mister.
Just call me David.
Wait, are you David Krumholtz? The actor?
I gotta do something the other 364 days of the year.
Oh my God, I loved you in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, well, I'm not really in the mood to give autographs right now, kid.
David, we apologize for the inconvenience. Consider it an unscheduled vacation. You see, we handled the job for you last night.
You did?
Carol salutes.
Consider the brats of this town thoroughly traumatized, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. I've been doing this a long time. I guess it's good to take a year off now and again. And, thanks for bringing me back from the dead, too.
Not a problem. Sorry I couldn't be here earlier. There was this whole thing last night with 3 ghosts.
Ghosts?
It's not a very interesting story.
Hi, David. I'm Cassie. I own this resort. If you don't have plans already, I'd like to invite you to spend Christmas with us.
David looks touched.
Wow, thank you. As a professional child frightener, I don't get invited into a lot of homes on Christmas.
Several of us can relate.
I'd be happy to.
Then consider yourself an honorary member of the Dark Legion.
The what?
Cue another montage. The Dark Legion spends Christmas morning together. Jack hops in the kitchen, a floating apron and chef's hat, preparing crepes for everyone. Hunter and Victor help.
Cut to everyone opening presents. Gwen unwraps her earbuds and tackles Nick with a hug that sends them both to the floor. Hunter opens a handmade sweater from Victor.
Carol and Jenny decorate the tree together, and Gwen hops on a stepladder to dangle mistletoe over their heads. Everyone cheers as they kiss.
Igor and David Krumholtz arm wrestle for some fucking reason. David wins and roars in delight, his face briefly becoming Krampus-like and scaring the shit out of Igor.
Cassie and Victor dance in the living room together, and Hunter climbs on Gwen's shoulders to dangle mistletoe over them as well. Victor and Cassie look embarrassed, but Victor gets down on one knee and kisses Cassie gently on the cheek. Cassie smiles and blushes.
The montage music fades. Jack comes down the stairs in full Santa attire, including a fake beard floating on an invisible face.
Ho, ho, ho! It's time for the annual Christmas sing-along.
It absolutely is not.
Come on! This is a Griffin family tradition. They haven't gotten to do it since my wife... Well, it's been a while.
Gwen softens, remembering her speech earlier.
Okay.
Jack sits down at the piano.
The inaugural performance of the Dark Legion Christmas Choir.
Have yourself a scary little Christmas. Turn the dark to light. Krampus gave those naughty kids a nasty fright. Have yourself a scary little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. Make it super gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are, safe from horror tropes. We'll have no more throats bled dry. Though who knows what will come to pass, I'm sure that our whole cast survives. Through the fears, we all will be together. If the hosts allow, from now on we'll have to waddle through somehow. So have yourself a scary little Christmas
The piano fades as the camera backs away from this idyllic scene of monster merriment through the window where a raven sits watching the scene. Satisfied, it flaps its wings and takes to the skies, and we follow, taking in a final aerial view of the beautiful mountain resort celebrating the holiday. Final end card. The Dark Universe Holiday Special. A Krampus Carol.
Post-credit scene. It's still Christmas morning, and Cassie hands out one last wrapped gift box to each of the assembled Dark Legionnaires, aside from Victor.
Okay. Let her rip.
Everyone opens their packages and eyes their contents with befuddlement.
Is this a release form?
Surprise! I'm writing a book.
The gang is all dumbstruck, except for David Krumholtz, who claps his hands and smiles, his mouth full of cookies. Hey, congrats! About what? Smash cut to black.
And before we go to break, I want to give a huge shout out to our Dark Legion voice cast. As always, please, wherever you are in your cars or at home, give it up for Steph Sallow, Rachel Millman, Joe Stando, Ella Dawson, Kendra Wells, Joe Kroger, and Gita Jackson for, as always, playing the Dark Legion impeccably. And we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Evan.
And I'm Andy. Anomaly is a science fiction short film. We are using Seed and Spark to raise $7,500 to help make this project come to life.
The thing that attracted me to this project is I am obsessed with UFOs. I do believe that there is a higher power out there and they have been observing us for years. And you could call me a crackpot conspiracist if you like, but us as human beings are always searching for answers. And what happens when you actually find those answers? What do you do with yourself? How do you move on? And most importantly, how does that affect the rest of your life?
In putting together Anomaly, we have been inspired visually and thematically by bombastic science fiction films and television like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Signs, and classic episodes of The X-Files, along with quiet character dramas like Light Sleeper and Drive My Car. If you'd like to know more about how you can support us directly, check out @Anomaly Short on Instagram and go to www.seedandspark.com/fund/anomaly. That's @Anomaly Short on Instagram and www.seedandspark.com/fund/anomaly.
Welcome back to the Dark Universe Holiday Special, first annual?
Yeah, we'll see. Depends on how people like it. Once again, if you all love it, we'll definitely do another one. If you all hate it, we'll definitely do another one.
And we hope that you liked it because we were talking about this a bit before we started recording. This was really our opportunity to actually do some fan service, I think. Obviously, this was a much lighter tone than what we have done in the past, but also, it's a holiday special. It's meant to be feel good. We weren't going to seriously imperil our character. We wanted this to be a fun, lighthearted thing for us to go out on break on before we come back with Native American Werewolf in Pairs, especially after telling you how grim that phase 3 is going to be. We've already killed off Evelyn in Heaven's Gate. Obviously, she's back here because this takes place beforehand. But even then, we twist the knife in this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we do a little bit of dramatic irony with that stuff here. But
yes.
it was like you said, it was a fun way to be able to, this time we can just have everybody have a good time.
Yeah, and we can have fun with the sillier side of things that we don't often let ourselves indulge in, right? We can get goofier with it and use all of these crazy characters as opportunities for just comedy instead of setting up these, various toned action horror movies.
Right. And I'm really glad that we did this. I do think we have a lot of heavy stuff coming this season, and to have this sort of like a little snack.
Yeah.
It's like a little bite-sized good time. It's a kind of thing where I think it feels the most like fan fiction of anything that we've done.
Yeah.
Because it is like, oh, they all get together for a party. But I mean, even in the darker stories that I write, I always think that you need to have those moments where they're just people just hanging out. Like one of my favorite scenes in the entire MCU, or at least in the entire Infinity Saga or whatever, is the fucking party at the beginning of Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
That endears you to those people. You get to feel like you know them.
Well, and I love that in comic books, too, where you get this sort of one-shot issue that's lower stakes.
Yeah, the X-Men play baseball.
Yes, or Spider-Man in Christmas in New York, dealing with, some small level threat. And so this is our opportunity to do that. Obviously, the two things we're riffing on here, the main thing being the Santa Claus.
Yeah.
The original working title of this was the Krampus Claus, then the Krampus Caveat, and then a Krampus Carol, because Carol. And that was Dylan's idea.
But you also have the planes, trains, and automobiles riff that you're doing as the B plot.
Yes, with Nick and Jack, which is a Thanksgiving movie, but still a holiday movie.
Sure, and we're recording this Thanksgiving weekend, so for us, maybe we didn't do that on purpose.
No.
But
so yeah, as we said before, this idea sort of came to me fully formed. And I presented it to you basically as the full outline because I was on this plane and I was thinking about what we can do. And I have written a Krampus story before for Monocle. People got our asses when they thought we might do Krampus.
Yeah,
we did. Hopefully in a way you weren't expecting, because I was just thinking about Krampus and I was like, but what could we really do that's interesting? And for some reason, the Santa Claus came to mind. And wouldn't it be funny if someone killed Krampus, we just did an inverse Santa Claus. Someone killed Krampus, now has to be Krampus. Oh, it's funniest if Carol does that because she's kind of the most human. And, like Jenny is also human, but she's a fighter, Carol's sort of our audience surrogate, I guess.
Hunter is physically pretty vulnerable, but also has an attachment to this unimaginable power.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Carol is sort of, without the nastier implications, sort of our Xander.
Yeah, exactly. And I also sort of simultaneously had this idea about Nick and Jack doing a Planes, Trains, and Automobiles because Nick and Jack sort of go all the way back to the beginning, right? From Nick appearing in The Invisible Man.
And we underline the idea of them being best friends in like The Mummy Returns.
Yes. And so I wanted to give them more time to spend together and have a little adventure together. And then it all came together perfectly because I was like, okay, so the plot is they go to Cassie's, they're spending the holidays together. Carol hears something outside. She goes and she's so excited because she kills her first monster, but then she turns into Krampus. All the Dark Legion has to go and, scare the kids of the town together. And that was like the overarching plot. And I was like, oh, and that works because if Nick can't get there until Christmas morning, then he can't bring Krampus back. And so it was just sort of fortuitous that these two ideas I had sort of simultaneously ended up dovetailing so nicely, because otherwise, Nick would just bring Krampus back and it's not a problem. But the fact that they're in this sort of like Home Alone situation, right, where she can't get back to her kid, like they the classic holiday travel thing.
John Candy is involved somewhere in spirit.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, should have put him in somewhere.
Then we'd have to do like a gross CGI like fucking John Candy.
Yeah, that would have been.
Let's not.
We're not going to do that.
We'll just call it like we're stuck at the John Candy International Airport.
Yeah, exactly. And so I presented that to you, kind of wholly
you
formed.
Had so much completed. Honestly, I think that if we went by like SAG rules, I don't think I get a credit on this script. I think what I did basically is I filled out a couple of. My whole thing is that you had the whole plot worked out. Mm-hmm. And so it sort of became a microcosm of what we do on the Dark Legion movies, which is they're mostly plotted by you. And then I have to kind of figure out some more of this is not to say that you ignore like character stuff.
Sure. Or that you ignore plot stuff.
Right. But because you have so much of the plot worked out and you're so much better at that than me, I usually try to figure out like, okay, what does this mean to the characters and where can we hammer home like what their personal journey is? And for a little bit of time, I was way too focused on, okay, every single one of these characters, we have to figure out what Christmas means to them. And then something has to happen that embodies that. So we don't have to just say it. We can have something happen. They'll be like, oh, that's because for Cassie, this is always a work day. And so like, no, too much. I
mean, that all still is in there.
It's still in there. But like the idea that like, I think that's the bit like, oh, Christmas morning, I'm going to have to call State Farm. I did look it up. State Farm does not work outside the United States. But there were no insurance companies that would be like recognizable. So
Swiss Farm.
Yeah, I Swiss Farm.
It's Swiss Farm.
I fudged it for the joke. But yeah, and we, like we said at the beginning, that was not until 11 o'clock this morning when I was writing a version of Gwen's big speech that it was about something totally different. And then only like as we were revising, we realized, oh, okay, there's this idea of her relationship to the fantastic and the way that kind of parallels the whole like, oh, magic is kind of like family. That was like one of the last things that we wrote. Like, oh, that kind of ties the whole room together. Yeah. Hopefully. You can tell us.
Because everyone's having their sort of family issues, right? We talk about Evelyn. Evelyn has her speech about not having a good Christmas. Cassie hasn't. Like, all of these characters haven't really gotten to celebrate Christmas in a while until now. Like Hunter, we can assume it's been a few years, right?
Yeah.
Since they've had a traditional Christmas with their mom. So this is kind of a big moment for everyone. And we sort of then tie that all together with Gwen in that speech because it's also, they're gathering without Larry for the first time.
Yeah.
And so it's also sort of like a celebration of, well, we have to continue on and celebrate life even without him, right? And so that kind of all came together this morning.
Yeah.
But also going back to like our relationship, like there were our writing relationship, like there were things that I just very intentionally, like, I was like, I would get stuck on something and be like, oh, this is something Dylan's good at. I'm just going to leave it. Like
you said, here you could put a list of what gifts Nick got everybody.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, man, I have no idea what, I know that Nick got gifts for everyone and we don't have to say what they are. We could just say it's a pile of presents, but it would be fun if we did. I don't want to, this is exactly what Dylan's good at. Or like the banter in the car with Cassie. I was like, all right, they should be having some sort of like fun, snappy dialogue.
Whenever you need banter, I'm your man.
That's Dylan's forte. I'll let him handle that. And
to
I'll move the plot
fault
forward.
in some of these scripts.
But we thought for the last like maybe 15 or so minutes, we would go through the script and sort of give you the director's commentary, just sort of take it scene by scene and talk about anything that jumps out at us from the writing process. So obviously we start with Jack and Nick because I wanted to set the scene for them, give them a little bit more time at the front to set up their conflict, so then we could just do the little comedy bits going forward.
Right.
And so we spent a little bit more time with them here, watching them be late for the airport. Jack gets naked. He
has to.
He has to.
He can't not get naked in one of these.
Well, because I really wanted the scene of them running to the gate and him being invisible, and so him just running into everybody and no one knowing what was going on.
Right, as if like Nick had a repulsor beam projected from his body.
It's literally the scene from Home Alone where they're all running to the gate, but one of them's invisible.
Right, Catherine O'Hara is invisible.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, we got to get Jack naked in the security line, because honestly, how's Jack going to go through security anyway?
Yeah.
Right? What? They're not going to let him in the big machine.
No way.
They can't even check his face with his passport, you know?
No, he'd have to sneak through. And if he's going to sneak through, he's got to be nude.
Exactly. So
note to self also, get Catherine O'Hara up in the dark universe.
Honestly, yes. And maybe Macaulay, we got to get some Culkins in here.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that we don't have Kieran Culkin in the mix yet.
Yeah, that is true.
He's kind of the moment. All right, so we do the airport scene. Then we have the drive over there, and you introduced the idea that the ski lodge, like that Castle Frankenstein would now be an operating ski lodge.
Yeah, I think so, because Cassie's got to keep the money coming in.
Right. And I kind of wish I didn't find a way to shoehorn it in, because it would have really been shoehorned. I thought that to set up the bit in post-credit, we should remind people that Cassie is a journalist by trade, and that does not really pay much of anything.
Well,
and
that's
so
kind of established in
is,
The Bride and Frankenstein,
yeah,
right?
But I guess like a brief mention, right?
Yeah.
But no, they've got this place fixed up, which she spent the family money that she inherited from the family tried to murder her. And I like that you also reintroduced Igor.
So yeah,
I know you felt like we'd wasted David Dastmalchian.
This is something I did shoehorn in, and unfortunately, we didn't really give him anything to do. One of my revision ideas was I was like, I want to give Igor more of a part in this, but there just wasn't room for him. But yeah, I just brought back David Dastmalchian as the great grandson of David Dastmalchian's character in Frankenstein.
See, but this is where I get to say thank you, because now I get to use Igor in Hunchback if I want to.
And the only way that would have worked was in a comedic script like that.
Right.
If we had done it in a serious Frankenstein movie, it wouldn't have made any sense.
Right, but now we will have inherited it from the silly script, the way that you can have fucking Rocket Raccoon and Winter Soldier fighting back to back in Infinity War when their movies do not belong together.
No, but those precedents have already been established, so it works. So David Dastmalchian is back. He is Igor in the 21st century.
Right, so now we get that to play with.
And now Igor can get his entire own spin-off movie in Phase 4.
Yeah, people will demand
Igor in the 21st century.
Yes. Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, Igor in the 21st.
So yes, Igor is back, baby. You brought in the idea of Victor taking up knitting.
Yeah, I don't know. And we talk about this kind of being a fan service heavy thing.
Yes.
This is where you get to see like characters just doing everyday life stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be funny to have Victor, like, where is he getting his clothes? Like, I almost had a line, wearing for the first time a sweater that fits. I'm like, no, it's better if he makes the sweater. And then it very easily came from there to like, oh, he should make it himself, and it should be because his hands are all fucked up. And it's like an exercise.
Yeah. And I mean, this is kind of like, Saf wanting Victor in pajamas, right? Like,
right. He
people
knits his own
want
pajamas.
these like little, character moments, and this was our chance to do it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, I love them, right? Like, if we wrote this more as a television show and we got to have more individual stories where the status quo didn't have to change so much, I'm sure there'd be room for a lot more stuff like this. But of course, that is where fan fiction thrives.
Exactly.
We say as if our entire effort is not also fan fiction.
Yeah. Also brought back Hunter's friend Phil for the second time
and
outside
I like
of
that
the Black Lagoon.
We still have not cast Phil. In fact, even when you look back at the version of the script that you read on the show, which is still our canon, we don't ever see Philip.
No, he's only, we still have never seen what he looks like. He has just been a voice on the video games.
And I think it would be fun. I guess this is up to me in the next Black Lagoon movie. I think it would be fun for him to be kind of the Maris, like the fucking Maris Crane of all of this from Frasier, where you just constantly hear stuff about him and you never meet him. But it was also...
it turns out in season 3, he's played by Laura Dern.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is a better analogy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
To be the Diane.
But I figured like we had to, even if it was stupid, justify how Hunter could be away from the Black Lagoon, because our whole thing is they're tied to it.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, because I was trying to think of something, and I was like, Oh yeah, I just called it Prodigium. They just, they had a sub for me.
Yeah,
but that's not as interesting.
We could have done that.
But I like that it's the friend.
It also felt like even too much of a reach for the Christmas special to be like, oh yeah, it's just in Switzerland right now. Like it's in the ski resort. No, I think like Phil could cover it. I had the idea that Victor and Hunter should do the cooking because I realized Jack would be the cook.
Of course.
And
so did fans on the Discord. They
were
like, oh, he's a food chemist. Of course he's going to be the cook.
Yeah, and so the fact that he's not there, I didn't want to just leave it to like, oh, now it's Jenny and Carol. I thought it would be funny if it was like, no, we said the ladies aren't cooking. So sorry, Vic, you're up.
I'm glad that in hindsight it gave Gwen something else to be grumpy about, because after we figured out what Gwen's deal was, I had to go back through the script and like make sure it was clear from the beginning that like she's not having a great time and she's kind of harshing everybody's vibe.
Yeah.
So that was another gift.
These little vignettes that I did with Nick and Jack, I completely just made them up as I went. I had no idea what their actual planes, trains, and automobiles situation was going to be. And at first I was like, how am I going to make this all make sense? I have to get them. Okay, I have to get them from London to Switzerland. How do they, what's one transition to another? And I was like, no, it's funnier if these are just like throwaway gags.
Yeah, don't explain it.
Don't explain
it. In fact, make them like just willfully like we are cutting to a story already in progress. It's like in fucking Planet Terror where there's the actual missing reel in the middle of the movie.
Well, and this, I also kind of stole this from my original idea for Bride of Frankenstein when it was going to be a romantic comedy. I was going to have it like Victor has to keep going off and doing Dark Legion stuff that you never see it happening. You only see it from like his girlfriend's perspective. And I never got to do that, but I thought this was a good opportunity to sort of be like, they're having all these adventures that we never see. We see the dead demon. There's a train derailed. Nick has to revive everyone. Then there's the Nando's and the burning car.
And we got another reference to the official fast food sponsor of the Dark Universe.
Another callback. And then I was like, fuck, wouldn't it be funny if they're in the Black Lagoon? Which, by the way, super fans, don't think too hard about how that works.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I know the lagoons in California. How did they end up there?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We had to get the creature in the Christmas special.
Yeah.
And so they just show up there. They exchange the gift. And then Nick's trying to turn into just the big bird. It doesn't work. I just wanted all these little funny moments.
But then the image of Jack getting carried around through the air by a fucking murder of crows.
Yes.
It's just that's good.
Yeah, I didn't want to make this part too overwrought. It's just they're stuck and they're getting into hijinks. And then the final reference to Jack seeing 3 ghosts. That was a shout out to the Discord and their Christmas Carol pitch. I'm not saying it's canon. Again, I'm not saying it's canon, but
it fits if you want to include it.
I like the idea that Jack did have an entire Christmas Carol thing happen to him that we did not show a single frame of, and he's not talking about it for some reason.
I mean, it would have all happened in one night, so it's plausible.
Yeah.
I chose to make Carol a Muppets fan. Just felt like someone should be. Initially, it was actually... I'm so glad you embellished this because I think I was doing too much nuts and bolts. She was watching them up at Christmas Carol, and that was going to be what fooled the Krampus into thinking that there was a child in the house to scare.
Yes.
Originally, the Krampus did show up in the house, and she just beat it to death with a fucking like a fireplace poker.
Yeah.
With a soundtrack of like one of the songs from the Muppets Christmas Carol blaring in the background. She's just wailing on this monster with a stick.
Which is really good. The only reason I changed it was because I wanted to draw out the Krampus stuff more to give us a little bit more time and a little bit more escalation of stuff.
In a weird reversal, if we had done everything the way that I kind of imagined it, it would have been a lot shorter.
Yes.
You as usual, the rising action, you made sure that everything felt like it was built to. Also, naturally, even things that I had beated out about like, oh, here's what's happening in this sort of like the vignettes later where they're doing the scares.
Yeah.
I would write out like some of the stuff based on what we discussed while we're hanging out in our booth at Monster ManiaCon in Philly. And then you're like, I'm just going to horror them up. I'm like, please make them gnarly.
Yes. So your original sort of sketch for this part was they all had just a normal dinner, and it was kind of a short dinner scene with the sweet potato tamales. And then the Krampus stuff happens after everyone has gone to bed. And I wanted to give us some more rising action because our Krampus interaction is our inciting incident, right? That's what kicks off our plot. And then our montage of the child scaring is our climax. And we had to have some action in between. And so if it was, she fights him, she turns into Krampus, and that's it, then like, what do we do in the middle? And so I thought it would be fun if we reversed things, had her go outside so we get kind of a horror moment outside. We change scenery. It's dark. We see Krampus under the light. We make it a little scarier. And then we use our dinner to have her start turning and have her start turning throughout dinner. And that gives us a little bit more. Then we escalate a little bit more from where we were. Then that turns into the chase upstairs. That escalates even more.
Yeah, 100% the right choice. But it helps that you had this whole thing so well cooked in your head.
Yeah.
So I kind of just got to go in and do like what is for me the fun stuff, which is not to say that I don't enjoy doing the big plot stuff, and I feel like I've gotten more comfortable with it. I've gotten better at it.
Yeah.
But like what I always feel like I was trying to do, like when I was writing scripts in high school and college, was that I was like I'm from Jersey of a certain age. Obviously, I was a Kevin Smith person, and so like I was like, yeah, a movie can just be two people talking in a car. It's like, well, no, not really. No disrespect to Locke, starring fucking Tom Hardy. A really good movie of one guy talking on his phone in the car.
A movie can be two people talking in a car, but maybe not a dark universe movie.
But all movies should not be two people talking in a car, which is like pretty much being like, I don't know, you have two guys, they're hanging out. This is like, this is just somebody with like a story, the imagination of like 2000s web comics, where it's like, we just have two guys playing video games on a couch talking about the news of the day. Now we have our own convention on two different coasts.
So moving through the script, Carol goes out, she shoots the Krampus, she turns through the dinner, which we sort of talked about.
Oh, the resolution here. So we've already talked about the genesis of like how Gwen's speech came together at the end. And it's weird for me because I know that you usually, I think you start writing with the idea of your whole plot. And you're filling in details. I usually know what the first act is. I know where I'm going. And then usually we'll veer off in crazy directions, which would be a terrible way to be like a studio screenwriter when people have expectations. Like if I was writing on an assignment from a studio, not that should stop you from hiring me. I do tend to let characters just kind of roll and do the thing they want to do. And I usually have an idea of at least what the theme or what the story is about before I start rolling. And so I feel like I got this one wrong a couple times, trying to figure out like, what do these events mean to our characters? What do I want the audience to walk away with aside from a good time? And the answer is like, it's about the fucking same shit that all holiday specials are about. And that's fine. That's what people go to holiday specials for. It's like, that's the genre. It's like how, what is this noir about? Like, well, it's about how the world's fucking broken. All noirs are about how the world is fucking broken. You can't trust everybody and everyone's in it for themselves. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, we didn't have to overthink this one. It was a chance to just have fun. And if someone needs to learn about the meaning of Christmas, then so be it. That's going to happen. I also like the idea of Cassie being familiar with Krampus, because it would make sense. The sweatiest thing about this is that Jenny and Evelyn wouldn't know about Krampus, but I think we write it off as, well, they just don't believe that it's real. Like, it doesn't occur to them because they have no reason to think that that's an actual real thing that exists.
Right. And if you want to do like the intense fridge logic, then it's like, well, since the Universal monster movies did not exist in this universe because Dracula and Frankenstein are not works of fiction, the horror genre across literature and film and whatever is different in this universe.
And so while Krampus may still exist as a folklore character, maybe there's not as much media about him.
Yeah, people just don't think about this stuff as much.
Yeah. And so the idea of like Cassie having been scared by him as a kid also gave Cassie a more integral role, because Cassie's someone else we kind of struggle as a human character, which really brings me to, if we want to jump ahead to the montage.
Yeah.
Because obviously I had this idea that was a very fun idea that like, our Dark Legion splits up and scares children all over town. But in practice, we have so many human characters in our Dark Legion. And I took two of our powered characters, Nick and Jack, out of the equation.
Yeah, the ones with the most bits potential, honestly.
Yeah,
the guy who can raise the dead, and the one who, like the original Invisible Man movie, it's all just fucking bits.
Yes, exactly. And so the only two monsters we had at our disposal were Victor and Gwen can't turn because it's not a full moon.
Right.
And so like we couldn't even really have her wolf out.
We did get Carol as a Krampus.
Yes,
That's when we got back.
Yeah.
But like you came with the idea with like, we don't have to explain, because again, it's like soft canon.
Mm-hmm.
How is Hunter making the milk turn into black sludge? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's just part of their
They
thing.
did that.
Yeah. It's in their wheelhouse, so it happens.
And then I'm like, oh, well, we can have the one sort of superpower-ish thing that Jenny has at this point is the sonic screwdriver. I mean universal lockpick, not a sonic screwdriver. That she could just use as like sort of a weird prank to keep unlocking this person's door. You went back and you added the tapioca pudding thing to make it a little bit goopier.
Just something that would really give that final scare to the kid that wouldn't just unnerve him, but like send him running.
Yeah.
So he needed something. And we had the slip of the parchment with everyone's names on it. So I was like, we'll put that in there.
Yeah.
We were getting a little sweaty here, but this is the thing that like when we went on a little road trip to Philadelphia to go to Monster Mania Con and sell the podcast to people along with my horror comics. And we basically, when things were slow, just stood at the booth and like brainstormed all these different scenarios
Jotted
and
stuff
wrote them down.
Yeah. What can our characters do? We didn't have anything for Evelyn. Your new version is definitely better for a horror movie thing, but I had the frustration of what are we gonna have to do that's scary in the script, where I had the door to the van slide open and Evelyn was there and she goes like, "Blah!" And of course, they're not scared of her. It's like, oh no, a beautiful woman. So out of like, she's just gonna get pissed and out of frustration, she just pulls a pistol out and fires a gun in the air a couple times, which would scare a child.
Yes, that is true.
But it didn't really fit into the theme of the monster horror.
Yeah, I'm sorry to take that away from you. I wanted to keep...
But now, because of the way that our podcast works, now people have heard both versions.
Yeah, now you've heard both versions.
That's one of the deleted scenes on the DVD. Which we won't actually print because you have to get a Peacock subscription to watch it.
That's true. And when Peacock finally takes it off of there for a tax write-off,
it's gone forever.
It just will be gone forever.
Yeah. Pirate that film, everybody.
I did the thing that whenever I can't think of like what goes here is I just did research about Krampus. I was like, I gotta find something for Krampus to do. I can't think of it. Maybe there's something about Krampus I don't know. So I was doing research on him and found out that, well, he often carried like switches, like that he would beat kids with. And I was like, how can I make a switch scary? No. Then I saw, he also sometimes would carry a whip. I was like, Evelyn would have a whip.
She's basically our other Indiana Jones figure.
Evelyn would have a whip. So we put the sack in the van. We've already established that it looks like it has kids in it, even though it doesn't, because he doesn't actually take kids.
Right.
So we got the magic sack, and then she'll be in the shadow. It looks like a tail. She cracks the whip. Boom. That's that's our scare. But because the gunshot thing worked, but we were trying to do everything in like a more of a monstery way. And so I was trying to find a way to make that all.
Yeah, that was definitely,
cohesive.
It fit better. And it wasn't like so meta of like, how the fuck are we going to get Evelyn to scare people?
Yeah.
When just like, oh, look, just this rad lady. I mean, a van pulls up, the door slides open, and it's Rachel Weisz being, I have candy. I would trust her.
Look,
I would believe it.
I'm scared of beautiful women. And so it adds up to me that children might be as well. But let's get to the David Krumholtz of it all.
Yes. Okay. So you introduced a character named Bernard.
So here's why David Krumholtz. People may be asking, first of all, you may be asking, who's David Krumholtz? Look him up on IMDb. You'll recognize him. You
might remember him from, I remember him from 10 Things I Hate About You. He plays Joseph Gordon-Levitt's buddy and has so many of the best bits. Like, we need a backer. Someone with money who's stupid. He's just got, there's a dick on my face, isn't there? All of my favorite one-liners from that movie are David Krumholtz. He plays the like sort of helpful hacker guy in Serenity who gets killed by a sword and programs a robot to speak his last words for him. He was recently in Oppenheimer,
which is referenced in the script.
Yes.
But here's why I chose David Krumholtz. I was realizing, okay, so Krampus is going to turn back into a man. Who's he going to be? And at first I was like, okay, well, he's someone from like older times. At first I played with him. Maybe that would be Igor. I was like, well, maybe Igor became Krampus. Then I remembered I killed him off in Frankenstein. So that would have made Frankenstein Krampus way back then.
Yeah.
Because he would have killed Igor.
It could have been the new Igor, I guess.
Yeah, it could have been. But then I was thinking, well, we're getting kind of meta with this anyway. Why don't I make it a reference to the Santa Claus? And part of me was like, maybe Tim Allen plays the guy, but I was like, nah, he's a piece of shit.
Allen, yeah.
So I was looking at the Santa Claus cast list and I saw David Krumholtz because he plays Bernard the elf in the Santa Claus. He went viral on Twitter a few years ago because everyone was talking about how their first crush was David Krumholtz in the Santa Claus because he's just a handsome young boy in that movie. And everyone was like, I had such a crush on Bernard. And I was like, okay, well, so I'll have him play a character named Bernard, no relation, but like it'll be a nice wink to the Santa Claus. And I finished the draft with him, and then I texted you and I was like, it's funny if he's just David Krumholtz.
Yeah, because honestly, I wouldn't have gotten the joke.
No, it would have been a deep cut for Santa Claus fans.
And that's fine. Like, it's not like you can't do that because not enough people will get it. Also, more people probably know the Santa Claus than I think. Like, I saw that in theaters and then never again.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's a classic.
Yeah, it has 2 sequels, and it's now on the 2nd season of its sequel streaming show.
Martin Short was in one of them.
Martin Short played like the fucking Jack Frost or whatever, right? So then we're like, okay, it should just be David Krumholtz. And if you're hearing this part of the show, then we did not succeed here, but we did reach out to David Krumholtz.
Dylan tweeted at David Krumholtz.
The guy lives in Queens.
He seems like a chill dude.
Yeah, he's got like a kind of normal guy's follower count. He doesn't post much.
I'm gonna check your Twitter right now and see if he responded.
Yeah, I mean, I did it from my personals that like I know that like the fan account would probably have like notifications on. It would spoil the surprise.
He hasn't responded.
No, he
yet.
hasn't. He still might. Instead of this part, you might be hearing a thing that we record later that says, then that was the real David Krumholtz.
Yeah.
Welcome to the dark universe.
Wouldn't that be an incredible
David Krumholtz himself. It would be so cool.
It would be so cool. But for now, it's a fake celebrity cameo.
Yeah.
But a holiday special is the place for a celebrity cameo,
exactly.
right?
Like the Guardians one used Kevin Bacon.
Exactly.
And it would be extremely appropriate. David Krumholtz, he's having a moment in the public eye because of Oppenheimer, a universal release.
Exactly.
I also like the way that we create this weird casting gag where Gwen saw Oppenheimer starring Cillian Murphy, the one like big recurring character from our universe who is not in this special.
I didn't even think about that. That's so funny.
Yeah,
so Oppenheimer exists in the dark universe.
So Cillian Murphy just is an actor who Indrid Cold looks like and has looked like since the early 1800s.
And Gwen has not commented on that, even though she has seen Oppenheimer.
Yes.
That's very funny. And canonically in our universe, the actor David Krumholtz has been alive for centuries as Krampus and decided to be a Hollywood actor in the 20th century.
Well, okay, that could be. I mean, maybe he killed the previous Krampus in like 1999.
That's true.
We don't know.
We don't make it explicit in canon, but that is why David Krumholtz is in this script, and maybe the real David Krumholtz if we're lucky.
If it would be a real fucking Christmas miracle if we got film legend, star of the CBS crime procedural Numbers that I never fucking watched a single time, even though it had David Krumholtz in it. David Krumholtz.
I hope so. So then part of my original pitch was that they were all going to get together at the end and Jack would play piano.
He has to.
And they would sing a song. I wrote this dumb little parody rewrite of Merry Little Christmas.
It's really cute.
Thank you. It's I really waffled on whether we should just sing the regular version, but I was like, I feel like the tone of this is skewing sillier and sillier as it goes on, so we might as well lean into it.
Yeah, you leaned it all the way. You broke the fourth wall.
Yes, I did. I broke the fourth wall.
If the hosts allow.
Yes, they reference the
and we
dark
already
universe.
know that we won't.
Yeah,
one of them is dead already.
Yes, so they know we exist, but they don't know our plans for them, which is a terrifying thought. But that's the holiday special. We did it.
Yeah, here it is. Please let us know what you thought. Hopefully you enjoyed yourselves.
Yes, and stay tuned. So we're going to take a little break because of New Year's and the holidays and everything. So we will not be back in 2 weeks. We will be back in 4 weeks. And Dylan, do you want to introduce what our next episode is?
No, go for it.
For our first episode of 2024, we will be welcoming the creator of Welcome to Night Vale, Joseph Fink, to the Dark Universe. He is going to be pitching a remake of Teen Wolf as a Peacock streaming series that's set in our Dark Universe.
No relation to the MTV series that was made. We are starting fresh based on the Teen Wolf movie that we will be licensing.
Yes. You'll hear all about it on our next episode. But Joseph Fink turns out is a fan of the podcast. We have no idea how he heard about us, but we got in contact with him. He was great to have on. So if you're a Welcome to Night Vale fan, you got to hear that one. We'll be back with that in 4 weeks. And then after that, I'll be pitching A Native American Werewolf in Paris, the start of our House of Frankenstein duology. So
onward and upward through
and
the
then
rest of phase
2024 is nonstop as we have the rest of phase 3. By the way,
I think we scheduled ourselves a short break around the holidays, which we might then fill with the Dark Legion Holiday Special 2.
Yes. There's also a short break after the next Dark Legion movie.
Yeah.
By the way, I counted, and by the time we're done with phase 3, we'll have as many movies as Marvel did up to phase 4.
Yeah.
Like our phase 3 is like twice as long as Marvel's phase 3 was. So we are doing 4 phases in 3 phases.
Yeah. Great idea.
Yeah. Why did we do that? We did it for you, the fans.
Yes.
Speaking of you, the fans, please support us at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton, where you can talk about this episode. We will be having movie nights. We have our bonus pod. We just had our Christmas episode come out, which we are just about to tape after this. If we are still alive. And as a final little special Christmas treat to go out on before the new year, we thought we'd leave you with a little bonus. As you know, Dylan and I are both songwriters. We don't get to talk about our music much on this show because we're mostly doing regular writing. But I have written a couple Christmas songs in my career as a songwriter. Dylan has half written one that hopefully
and now
he will
I have to finish it.
Yeah.
You're going to hear it. It will be the world premiere of this song.
Yeah, so if you want to stick around, we are going to play a couple of our own Christmas songs for you. The first is a song I wrote called New Traditions. That I'm very proud of. And then assuming Dylan finishes it by the time this airs,
you'll be hearing a song called This Christmas Is Yours.
And if you don't hear that song, it's because he didn't finish it. And you can yell at him online.
Light me up.
But thank you, everyone. Have a happy holidays, no matter what you celebrate. Or if you don't celebrate anything at all, just
enjoy some time off from work, hopefully.
Yes. We love you all. We will see you in 2024 for the rest of phase 3. And while you sit down for your big holiday dinner, just remember to stay afraid of the dark universe.
I'm not baking cookies this year. I think leftover pad thai will do. It's not that I'm short on good cheer. It's just that no one decorates them like you. Won't carve any snow angels. I'm hoping that climate change ends all that soon. Won't be any elves on shelves. Think I'll just put up a snake plant or 2. I'd rather make new traditions than do all the things that we used to do. I'll have to make do this Christmas and deck the halls and file alarms. Who says they must be set in stone? Oh, without our traditions, this won't feel like Christmas, I know. I'm not counting Advent this year. I rescheduled those days for July. Love actually feels insincere. Instead, I think I'll turn on Halloween 5. Won't play any Bing Crosby. Mariah Carey's persona non grata. Matter of fact, why don't we cut the sleigh bells, cue in some maracas? That's better. I'd rather make new the things that we used to do alone. I'll have to make do this Christmas. The let it snows and mistletoes. Who says they must be set in stone? Oh, without our traditions, this won't feel like Christmas, I know. If I stop hanging glass balls on the Christmas tree, then I won't risk a ghostly glimpse of reflections of you and me. I'd rather make new traditions than do all the things that we used to do alone. I'll have to make do this Christmas. The jingle bells and Batman smells. Who says they must be set in stone? Oh, without our traditions, this won't feel like Christmas, I know. Oh, maybe I'll keep one or two so there's something that still feels like home.
Hi, everyone. Dylan here. When we recorded this episode, I was very excited to use this as an excuse to finish this Christmas song that I've been working on for a really long time. But as I was working on it, I thought that might be cool to do instead would be to get pneumonia and just be completely useless for a week and not be able to take a deep breath or sing or really do anything. This turned out to be a bad choice because as a result, I do not have the Christmas song for you. But rather than pass up this opportunity to promote my band, I have included here at the end of the episode a song called Great Shot, Kid by No Jersey. It's something we actually recorded a while back when we were still called the Hell Yeah Babies. And it's not streaming in a lot of places right now due to a weird technical glitch. So it's still kind of a little holiday treat. I hope you all enjoy it. And if you dig it, please check out No Jersey on wherever you're listening to this. And this song will be on the next album when it comes out, hopefully next year. Happy holidays, everybody, and thank you so much for listening.